Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Waltham. We are so glad you're here. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. My name is Janet Riley. I'm your Finance Commissioner. I'm a middle-aged white woman with curly hair, and I am giving announcements this week. We try to make our service as accessible as possible with hearing helpers and large print versions of service material available from our ushers. Our weekly newsletter is available on our website, and paper copies are at the entrance to the building. To receive an email copy each week, please speak to a greeter or usher. Interested in donating flowers to a Sunday service? To sign up, please view the newsletter. Pastoral care is available to everyone, newcomers, members, and visitors alike. Please reach out for any assistance. Please join us this week in welcoming back Reverend Christana. Reverend Christana is the island minister at Star Island, a UUC camp and conference center in New Hampshire. Reverend Christana has been an ordained Unitarian minister since 2005 and served as a hospice chaplain until becoming parish minister in Taunton, Massachusetts, where she was for a decade. She served in leadership with the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association Board of Trustees and the UU Society for Ministerial Relief. Reverend Christana lives with her husband Eric and their 2 teenage children in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where they enjoy skiing at nearby mountains and walking on the beach with their beloved dog, Roscoe. This week's newsletter highlighted several events, including upcoming service themes, game night, the online auction, the nominating committee's GA session meeting after the service today, and a special message from our board president, Deb Jose. Be sure not to miss the Adult Faith Formation Chalice Lighting Workshop next Sunday, and note that financial aid applications for the Star Island Retreat are due Wednesday, April 15th. Today, the nominating committee will meet in the Harrington Room after the service to discuss General Assembly. Make sure you stop by. Thank you to all who have pledged. We've raised about $108,000, with 80% of our households participating, and we welcomed 2 new pledgers this week. If you haven't yet pledged, please stop by coffee hour. You'll see us with the auction table. We will be happy to set you up. Thank you also to all who organized and attended last night's event. It was a huge success and would not have been possible without all of you. Our online auction is still open until 4 p.m. today. Take a look and see what's still available. Book Club meets this Thursday, the 16th, from 12:30 to 1:30 in the Harrington Room and on Zoom. Next Sunday, from 12 to 1 in the Harrington Room, join Adult Faith Formation in exploring chalice lighting as a spiritual practice and make a personal chalice. All are welcome. Contact April Rosario, Director of Faith Formation, with questions. Finally, thanks to all who have contributed to Coffee Hour this week. Next week, we invite those with names from S through Z to contribute. This is the end of today's announcements. Please check you silence your phone and other communication devices. And now, please turn around to welcome and wave to the lovely people who are joining us from Zoom. Our video camera is just to the right of the exit sign over the door. This is the end of announcements.
Good morning, everyone. I neglected to do a sound test before we began. Can you all hear me all right? Wonderful. As was mentioned, I'm the Reverend Christana Wille McKnight. I'm your guest minister today, and what a delight it is to be back with all of you. I'm a white woman who is, I have been told, middle-aged, and I have short blonde hair. I want to extend a special welcome to those of you who are with us for the first or second time today, either virtually or in person. So much of what it means to be part of a Unitarian Universalist church community is to work in the world of inspiration, connection, and service. This is the ground on which we gather together each Sunday, and it is that which guides us in all that we do. We gather together each week because we know that in connection, We find meaning and strength and love. We gather together because together we are able to create and live out our dreams, to help each other, and to be part of something greater than ourselves. To love without exception is at the heart of our faith, and each Sunday we leave this time with a sense of that love, and with the strength and the hope for the week to come. What a blessing it is to gather together today. As we begin our service, I would like to invite Deb forward to lead our chalice lighting.
Building the Possible, written by Reverend Scott Taylor, inspired by and with the use of the words of John Shar. Thank you. May this flame cast its light toward the coming days, reminding us that the future is not simply a place we are going, but a place we are creating. A new world is waiting, friends, not to be found, but to be built. May our time together light the way. And while I'm up here, a special announcement for those of you who have not heard yet. We have a new minister who will be joining us. Reverend Dave Egan and his wife Karina were here last night at our auction. Reverend Dave comes to us from Medfield, Massachusetts, where he has served as minister for the past 7 years. Reverend Dave will finish out the church year in Medfield and start with us on August 1st, 2026. Because this is a contract to call ministry, we have a contract with Reverend Dave through July of 28. So it's a 2-year contract. We anticipate in the late winter, early spring of 28, we will have a congregational vote on whether to call Reverend Dave as our settled minister. We also acknowledge that transitions can be hard, even happy ones. If you have questions about the process, please speak with a member of the search team led by Donna Vanderklok, or any member of the board. If you need help processing the change, please consider speaking with a member of our wonderful pastoral care team. Thank you. And now as we move into our opening hymn, we encourage you to do so in whatever way feels right for you, whether that means rising in body, dancing in the aisle, clapping along, singing with gusto, or simply listening and letting yourself be bathed in the sound of others. Our opening hymn is in the Teal hymnal 1001, Morning Has Come. 1000. Please remain standing for our unison affirmation that begins with the word love. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you. Please be seated.
Good morning. My name's Pam Penton. I am the membership commissioner. I am a 66-year-old white woman with curly red hair and a black and white sweater. And today I am subbing in for April, which is a tall task, but she has picked a story for me, and so I will hopefully read it in as much gusto as she does. And we would, this is called A Lamp in Every Corner by Janine Groschmeyer. Many years ago, in the land of Transylvania, in a mountain valley watered by quick rushing streams and shadowed by great forests of beech trees, there was a village of small wooden houses with dark shingled roofs. The people in the village were of the Unitarian religion, and they wanted a church of their own. A church set on the hillside, they decided, looking down upon the village as a mother looks down upon her sleeping child. So all the people of the village labored long and hard to build themselves a church. The stonemasons hammered sharp chisels to cut great blocks of gray stone, then set the stones into stout and sturdy walls. The glazers made tiny glass panes and fitted them neatly into the windows with leaded lines. The foresters sawed tall beech trees into enormous beams and laid the trusses for the ceilings, then covered the roof with close-fitting wooden shingles that would not leak a drop of rain. The carpenters carved wood for the pair of wide-opening doors, setting them on strong pegs so that the doors hung straight and square. A bell was brought from a faraway city, then hoisted by ropes with a heave and a hoe to the top of the tower. The weavers wove fine cloths for the altar table, cloths embroidered with flowers and edged with lace. The smiths hammered black iron into tall lampstands and hammered thin bronze into shiny oil lamps. Finally, when the building of the church was done, the painting of the church could begin. The painters mixed bright colors, royal red and shimmering gold and brilliant blue. And everyone in the village, old and young, women and men, boys and girls, came to decorate their church. They painted flowers. They painted trees. They painted designs around the windows and different designs around the doors. And at the end of the day, when it was finished, when their church was finally done, all the people of the village stood back to admire it, and then to sing a song of happiness and praise. Their village had a church now, a church set on the hillside, looking down on the village as a mother looks down on her sleeping child. "We will eat now," announced an elder of the village, because everyone was hungry after a long day's work. "And later tonight we will come back and pray." So the people of the village went down the hillside to their homes and their suppers, all except one little girl named Zora and her father, who stayed behind. They had brought their own bread and cheese. They ate their food slowly, sitting on the grass on the hillside and admiring their new church, with its strong stone walls, its tall tower, and its magnificent bell. After they had eaten, they went back inside, opening those carved wooden doors to go into a gloriously painted sanctuary inside. "Oh, look, Father," Zora cried, running from picture to picture with her footsteps echoing off the stone walls. "See how grand? Yes, it is, said her father, looking around and nodding with pride. Yes, it is. But father, she said suddenly, we have not finished. Well, what do you mean? There are tall iron lampstands all along the walls, but there are no lamps. The church will be dark when the people come back tonight. Oh, no, little one, said her father. The light of the church comes from its people. You shall see. He rang the bell to call the people to worship, then took his daughter by the hand and led her back outside. They waited on the grassy hillside next to their beautiful church of strong gray stone. The sun had set behind the mountains, and night was coming soon. Yet, in the growing darkness, tiny points of light came from many directions, moved steadily up the hill. Each family is entrusted with a lamp, little one, her father explained. Each family lights its own way here. Where is our family lamp? Zora asked. Your mother is carrying it. She will be here soon. The many lights moved closer together, gathering into one moving stream, all headed the same way, growing larger and brighter all the time. Zora's mother arrived, bearing a burning oil lamp in her hands. The father lifted Zora so she could set their family lamp high in one of the tall iron stands. All around the church, other families were doing the same. Soon, the church was ablaze with light in every corner, for all the people of the village had gathered to pray and sing. All through the worship service, Zora watched the lights flicker and glow. She watched her family's lamp most of all. Lifted her high again. She took the shiny bronze lamp from the lamp stand. Its curved sides were warm and smooth in her hands. Her mother carried the lamp home with the flame lighting the way. The lamp flame lit their houses when they returned home. Zora washed her face and got ready for bed by the light of that flame. Mother, Zora began as she climbed into bed and lay down. Yes, little one, her mother asked, tucking the red wool blanket around Zora's shoulders. Father said the light of the church comes from its people. Yes, said her mother, but also the people take their light from the church. Over on the table by the fireplace, the shiny bronze lamp was still burning, and we have that light every day. Yes, indeed, said her mother, and even when we're not at church, even when the lamp is not lit, we carry the light of truth in our minds and the flame of love in our hearts to show us the right way to be. That light, the light from truth and love, will never go out. Never? Asked Zora. Never, said her mother. And this bronze lamp will last for many, many years. When you are grown, we will give the bronze lamp to you, and when your children grow, you will give the lamp to them, and all of you will carry it back and forth to the church every time. But there's only one lamp, Zora said. So we'll make another and let the light grow, and someday tell your children to make more lamps too. And now, good night, her mother said, and kissed Zora once on the cheek, and once on the other cheek, and once on her forehead. Zora closed her eyes and drifted into dreams while her mother looked down upon her sleeping child. The years passed and Zora grew. The bronze lamp came into her care. She kept it polished and cleaned, and when the bell rang out across the valley to call the people to worship, she carried the lamp back and forth to the church on the hillside, the flame always lighting her way. When the time came, she made more lamps and gave them to her children, who made more lamps and gave them to their children. And so it went on through the years, even until today. And always the light of truth and the flame of love from that Unitarian church on the hillside continues to grow and show them and us the way. So at this point, April usually entrusts us with a question or an action. She didn't leave us one this week. So it was up to me. So my thought after I read this story, was to think about, what was the light that we were carrying? What were we bringing into church with our family and to our homes each day? What is the light that we've been carrying for the last 2 years? What do we want to continue to bring back and forth to finish out this bumpy year and to start our new journey in September?
Thank you, Pam. I chose this morning's second hymn because it's one of my absolute favorites, but also because it's a fantastic example of how people from different backgrounds can bring their light together to tell exactly the same story. The song is the inspiration of a Muslim residing in the United States, Samir Badri. Samir recruited the composer, Ted Warmbrand, a Jew, to set his words to a tune after both of them attended a peace rally in Arizona before the US bombing of Afghanistan and then Iraq. It has been through various transformations, first sung with a rippling banjo accompaniment, then a cappella, then with percussion, and then a whole band made up of musicians from Morocco and Saudi Arabia formed to play for the Tucson Jewish-Muslim Peace Walk of 2004. The lyrics translate as, "Let us live in peace. Let us live in inner peace. Let us weave our dreams together. Let us die in peace." If you are nervous about singing in Arabic, you are not the only one. Please don't let that prevent you from singing as if your words being heard will change tomorrow's world. The choir are going to sing for you so that you know how it goes. And then, on the second run through, the choir are going to sing a line, and Bethany is going to lead you in singing it as an echo. So it will go, choir, you, choir, you. And that is how we are going to get through. It is hymn number 1032, Dauna Naish, in your teal hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit as is appropriate. And here come the choir.
Good morning. I am Nancy Lawrence, a member of the care team here at First Parish. At this point in the service, we offer a time for people to share a joy or concern. And what that does is it helps us as a community to join with you and make your concern lighter and make your joy greater. So I invite you now to come forth and light a candle and use this one last candle was lit already by Bill, my partner here. And it's for people who don't feel that they can come forth and talk about whatever's on their mind. But we want to support you as well. So thank you very much. And if anyone else would like to light a candle, you can come here and one of us will be here with you. Thank you very much.
We lift up all these prayers today. These joys and concerns, these events, these lives, these people, the connections that bind us. We take a moment as a community today to not only hear what has been shared, but to take it in, individually and collectively. The moments that make up what it is to be alive. The celebrations, music, recovery, support, anniversaries, the challenges, sickness, hard times, the utter confusion sometimes of the world. We gather together as a community, speaking these joys and concerns out loud, so that we remember that none of us are alone. Every joy is multiplied, every burden lifted, because we are in shared community together. Amen.
Now is our time when we come together as a community to contribute to our continuing health. Let us generously give and gratefully receive this morning's offering. If you are visiting, you are our guest. We hope you will find a spiritual home here and consider contributing when the time is right for you. Will our ushers please come forward to receive this morning's offering?
Our reading this morning is from the Reverend Cameron Trimble, and it is entitled, "When the World is Burning, Stay." The world does not feel steady right now. Institutions we were taught to trust are unraveling. Power is being abused without accountability. Fear is being used as a governing strategy. Many of us wake each day bracing ourselves for what new harm will be revealed. We need to be honest about this. Naming the danger is not despair, it is sanity. History tells us that moments like this are not new. Empires have fallen before. Moral orders have collapsed before. People have lived through seasons when cruelty was normalized and minority were treated as threats. In those moments, not everyone fled or fought. Some chose something less dramatic and more enduring. In the 6th century, as the Roman Empire disintegrated, Saint Benedict of Nursia did not try to save the empire. He also did not abandon the world. Instead, he gathered people into a way of life rooted in stability, shared labor, prayer, and care for the vulnerable. The monasteries that followed did not prevent the collapse, but they preserved the humanity within it. They became places where learning survived, where the poor were fed, where dignity was practiced when power had lost its moral compass. They did not do this by being loud or dominant. They did it by staying. There is a different kind of courage there than one that we usually celebrate. It is the courage of remaining present when it would be easier to harden or disappear. It is the courage of tending life when destruction has momentum. Benedict called this stability, committing to a place, a people, a way of life that resists chaos without mirroring it. Stability is not passivity. It is disciplined faithfulness. It is the refusal to let fear decide who we become. This matters for us now. We are living through a time when many are tempted to withdraw, to numb themselves, or to believe that nothing they do will matter. But the Benedictine wisdom insists otherwise. It teaches that how we live in the midst of breakdown shapes what becomes possible afterwards. When we choose to stay human, when we keep telling the truth, caring for one another, protecting the vulnerable, practicing restraint instead of revenge, we become the carriers of a different future, even if we never see its fullness. This does not mean we ignore injustice or accept harm. Benedictine communities were not neutral. They ordered around the values that quietly but firmly contradicted domination: humility over power, shared resources over hoarding, hospitality over exclusion, and care over control. In times like these, courage does not always look like confrontation. Sometimes it looks like preserving what makes life worth saving. If the world feels like it's burning, the invitation is not to match fire with more fire. The invitation is to become a place of shelter, of memory, of moral clarity, to keep the human story alive until it can be told more truthfully. The work now is to stay. We are in this together. It is good to be back with you. The last time I was here with you, I think it was just a few weeks ago, I shared with you some of my own experience as being a person who was raised in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and what it was like for me to go back there during the ice surge in January. Today, I'd like to start with sharing a bit more of my own story about Minneapolis, but in a different way. When I was growing up, church was our primary lexicon. I am a fourth-generation Unitarian Universalist. I know, it's surprising, but true. My grandmother, moreover, was one of 13 children. It was her parents who left Sweden in search of a place where they could practice their own religious freedom and searching around and studying of Unitarianism. One of 13, all of whom were raised by a deeply Unitarian father, studying his Unitarian faith through William Ellery Channing and others, all of whom remained Unitarian as adults and then reproduced. My father has 72 first cousins. I have relatives sprinkled throughout UU churches all over this country, most especially in the Midwest, and both of my own parents were deeply involved in the church that we attended in South Minneapolis during my growing up years. My brother and I understood the rhythm of our life through church. Thursday nights was board meetings for Mom. Every other Monday, Dad was at choir practice. Sundays were the long day of church and snacks, beginning with religious education, seeing our friends, the joy of coffee hour, and then going on longer and longer as we would sit in the church library, finding all of the snacks our parents had kindly brought us and perusing every nook and cranny of where the coffee hour goodies might have been stashed, along with the apple juice that had not been consumed during religious education hour. We would be there for what felt like most of the day. It ended probably around 1. As our parents went to meetings and connected with seemingly everyone in the congregation. When I was a teenager, my home congregation called new ministers, a co-ministry team, one poised to bring the congregation into a new era after the retirement of a longtime minister, who, as is often the case, had many folks in the community who loved him and some who were ready for new leadership. The co-ministry team and the church together flourished for some time, beautifully in many ways, but it ended badly, and there was hurt feelings on all sides. The congregation had grown under the new ministry, and some of the new members left with the ministers. Some longtime members became so frustrated with the conflict that they too left. My community was torn up about the challenges in the church, with longtime friends on differing sides of conflict, cousins and siblings disagreeing with each other. My dearest friends, who I had grown up with from the time that I was 6 weeks old, dedicated in the congregation, some of their families could not stay. Our aunts and uncles. It's funny how challenges in church can permeate one's whole life, it seems. It was a hard time. Yet despite those hard times, you all know from what I shared with you the last time I was here, that the congregation I was raised in, First Universalist Church in Minneapolis, is still going strong. And here's a bulletin. This all happened more than just last week ago. I am no longer a teenager. It was several decades. But what you may not know about this place where I was raised, after they went through this difficult time, is that First Universalist is now a leading congregation within our denomination. When the clergy gathered for the ice surge in January, it was First Universalist who hosted ministers from across the country each night for dinner. It was First Universalist where the president of the UUA, Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, came to join us for prayers and blessings on the second night of our ministry service together. And it is still that same congregation of First Universalist, which is my home community, that which ordained me 25 years ago, where my mother has now been a member for more than 50 years, where she still gathers with the people she knew from her time on the board all those decades ago when I was a child. There are times that it seems like everything is falling apart, and it is too much to bear. This can be true in church, and it can be true in life. This past week has been a bit of a doozy for this country. Did anyone else find Tuesday hard? Tuesday was rough. I was in a meeting midday, and one of the folks I was in the Zoom meeting said, "Are we going to have nuclear war tonight?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then we just both paused and said, "All right, let's go on to agenda item C. Because what are you gonna do next? I don't know." There has been so much happening in the public sphere and with the government that it is hard to keep up with it all. And I am positive that I am not alone in not being at all sure what will happen next. I think one of the only things we know for sure right now is that hardly anyone knows what will happen next, or how we will need to respond, or what this next week will hold for this country and as such the world. In these times of deep uncertainty, when we do not know what will happen in the future, but when we imagine it might be quite different than what we had a few months ago, we have to find ways to keep going forward. And all that being said, there are ways we can get through hard times, not just surviving, but using them as a catalyst for our lives and our communities, for strength and for growth. One of my favorite authors is Rebecca Solnit. Have any of you ever heard of her? Yeah, a couple of you? She's marvelous and has written a lot about history and society and the world we live in. And one of her books that I return a lot to these days has the intriguing title of Paradise Built in Hell, and talks about the premise that in challenging times, people develop connections and access goodness they cannot access in the easy times. In this work, Solnit talks about how in times of crisis, we find something deep within ourselves that we did not know was there, but that can actually bring out the best in who we are as people. It can bring out the worst too, but there is something in our soul that can respond to the hard times in all of the best ways. The following is a quote from one of Solnit's pieces. She says this: "I love etymologies, and I have found the etymology of the word emergency so compelling because it literally means to emerge from something, to exit the way that things have been and enter in something new, which is always a scary time. Things can go wrong. They can get much worse. And sometimes they can get better. It's a real moment of decision. It reminds me of the term crisis, which in medical terms means that at the point at which either the patient begins to recover or head towards death. Both are possible. So emergencies often get us out of being stuck. Although we tend to fear them, they're not always bad. And sometimes they can be very good, with good results. We can sometimes get stuck as people and as communities, and it's hard to get collectively unstuck. And there is a lot of ways that our communities can learn and grow in different ways, which is part of why I'm so glad to hear that your congregation is celebrating by hiring a new minister, a person that I want to share with you, who I have only known slightly, but in our brief interactions has seemed like a total delight. I am so glad that your congregation, all of you who are gathered or who might be watching this recording later, have chosen, in fact, to stay through a hard time, to build, to create. As we heard about in our reading this morning, deepening, finding ways to connect that we might not have otherwise had. It can be tempting during times of challenge to walk away from the community and disengage from the world around us. Sometimes the challenges are so large that it seems even trying to deal with them is beyond us, a process in confusion and sometimes exhaustion. When there is both too much information and not enough information, it seems like the most rational thing to do is turn off all the electronics and go make soup. Does anyone ever do that? That's one of my coping mechanisms. On Tuesday night, after that meeting, I said, well, there could be a crazy bombing. I think I'm going to make soup. I have a freezer in the garage that's really full of soup right now. There are times that we need to do that, where we need to take a step back, to separate ourselves from different types of challenge, be they local or national. And that stepping back is important because it gives us perspective. It gives us time to regroup and breathe. But that stepping back from the world, stepping back from our communities, that is not the place we can live. And the reason for that is because we all here, we are all alive. We all have this remarkable opportunity to be alive. And when you have the remarkable opportunity to be alive, to breathe, and to feel joy, and to celebrate, and to mourn, and to experience what it is to be human, it is, I believe, our birthright responsibility to engage with that right. It is what makes us human in our souls, that we live in this moment we have of being alive. We do not know what's going to happen. We do not know what's going to happen in our small communities or in our larger communities or in the world. But we know that we have each other. We know that we have this life. We know that when we are gathered together, we are creating something that keeps humanity alive. It is essential. It is what it is to be human. I think it might be what makes a difference in the world. All of us creating something that could not be created by any one of us, even a person in leadership. For leadership is a partnership. It is in relationship, and it is in those relationships that the bonds are formed, even in the most difficult times. I want to share some more words from Rebecca Solnit. She wrote these a few years ago. It is late, and we are deep in an emergency. But it is not too late because the emergency is not over. The outcome is not decided. We are deciding now. The longer we wait to act, the more limited the options. But scientists tell us there are good options and great urgency to embrace them while we can. An emergency is when a stable situation destabilizes, when the house catches fire or the dam breaks or an institution implodes, when the failure or sudden change or crisis calls for an urgent response. It becomes clear that the way things were going are not how they are going to be. An emergency can involve a terrible loss, or it can bring about a magnificent transformation. And while it's unfolding, the outcome can be impossible to foresee, and it will depend on what you or we do. A famous phrase is that history is not yet written. The stories that your teenagers here in this church today will tell 25 years from now will depend on what you do today as a congregation. For they are watching you. Those children are always watching us. They are watching us to see how we live together, how to be a grown-up, how to share community. The stories the teenagers from this congregation will tell decades from now will change depending on the example that you set as adults who have lived through a challenging time. The stories that teenagers will read about 30 years from now in their civics classes will depend on the decisions that we make collectively today as a whole community. The stories that we live with in our souls of civil rights and Anne Frank and Vichy France and those who lived through and supplied the Underground Railroads, the stories and the decades across countries of the people who kept showing up. From the hard things that we hear about and the sometimes harder things that we don't. Like the Benedictine community, keeping the souls alive, keeping humanity alive while Rome burned. It is in the spaces of community that we hold the soul of humanity. It is in the spaces of sacred connection that we set the example for this moment and for the moments to come. History is not yet written, and we all have a hand in writing it. And all of you who have come so splendidly together at this congregation for your community have a role to play in this moment, in this time, in this place, doing something each day to live your values in the world. We have the opportunity to be alive at this time. We might have chosen a different time, but there are no times without struggle. We might have wished it was easier, but easier is not what it is to be alive. What it is to be alive is to live. Live and to love and to take the values that sustain your soul and bring them into the world. Every day, that is the beautiful opportunity we have, the responsibility we are given. It is a great burden, an enormous responsibility, and the most joy that I can imagine any of us can have. May we live into that we dream of, creating community today for our children to remember and come back to 30 years later, filling them with the embodiment of our values in the world, sheltering us from the evils around us, but giving us the strength and courage to go out from this sacred space and do the work that needs to be done. May it be so. Please join us in our closing hymn, Gather the Spirit, number 347 in your gray hymnal. may we gather to celebrate. May we gather in peace and celebration and joy. May we gather together this day, this week, this month, for all the days to come. Remembering most of all that we do not face this world alone, but are part of something greater than ourselves, accountable to the shared values that we hold, and blessed with the opportunity to love.